Good morning, fellow learners. Good day. I'm Mentor Ray. I will be your mentor for this concept, and I'd be happy to discuss with you and share my experiences about the Gomigosho formula. And this is about the entrepreneurial mind. Okay, here are our objectives for the day. At the end of the session, the learners shall explain what is the entrepreneurial mind, identify the 5 requisites of the entrepreneurial mind, and explain how to nurture the entrepreneurial mind. So, as your mentor for today, I'd like to do something that most of you, or shall I say a lot of us, would want to do, especially now that social media is in. We all have our social media accounts, and we love to share something about the past. So let me begin our session with that kind of thing. So these are actually the 13 entrepreneurs who in 2005, after the appointment of then presidential consultant for entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, by the president, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, we actually gathered upon his calling for us to form an advocacy group. So within this group, okay, we have Governor El Rey Villafuerte, Vivian Tan, of course, the daughter of Lucio Tan, the very famous Doctor to the Stars, Dr. Vicky Bello, Youth Advocate Anne-Marie Periquet, Presidential Consultant for Entrepreneurship, Mr. Joey Concepcion, our boss, Nanay Socorro Ramos of National Bookstore, and of course, Dr. Talesa of Splash Corporation, a good and dear friend, Les Reyes of Reyes Haircutters, Jay Aldiger of Island Souvenirs, and of course, Mr. Fior Helato himself, Richie Cuna, and the president of CEO and Bobson Jeans, Mr. Victor Tan. Where am I in this picture? Okay, let me introduce myself. There you go. That's your mentor, Ray. A lot of people, when get to see this picture, they would usually tell me, "Kamusta na tatay mo?" Okay. Does that mean really that you have to look older to be a little more mature looking when you enter into business transactions? So the Gomigosho Advocacy Group has a goal in mind, which is to change the mindset and the attitude of the Filipinos. And actually, our motto is teach a nation how to fish and feed the nation many lifetimes. So in essence, we're saying do not just give the Filipinos the fish. Teach them how to get it. And that's the very essence of our discussion for today. So this is actually the first Gomigosho book that contains the 50 inspiring entrepreneurial stories from 50 entrepreneurs in the Philippines. And that's me, of course. Ayun, nangunguna. Okay. So once again, our advocacy group rolled up our sleeves early on, and we actually tried to reach as many negociantes in the Philippines as we can from all sectors and from all professions, okay? So, let me talk about 5 issues today. And the first issue is, are Filipinos entrepreneurial? Is it a yes or a no? We have to answer this immediately, and I'm gonna say no. Okay, according to former Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Celito Habito, Filipinos tend to be geared towards finding a job rather than creating jobs. So they're fond of working for their wealth rather than creating the mechanism to earn wealth. So what's the difference? According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, 2.2 million Filipinos work overseas from April to September 2019 alone. So if you think about this huge number of Filipinos who are adding up to those who are already there, we are really losing a lot of our countrymen for greener pastures abroad. But come to think of it, what do they bring into the Philippines when they go abroad? Sometimes they just send the money, and then the people here would just be using it for day-to-day expenses. Think about what happens if those 2.2 million Filipinos would usually put up their own business establishments. So we're going to have an average of 2 million new businesses every year. easier said than done. But here's issue number two. That begins with understanding what is the entrepreneurial mind. Is it a whim or a disposition? What do you mean by whim? Is it just a sudden desire? Whimsical means it is brought about your sudden desire or change of mind. You get it at you do it at your whim whenever you want it, kung kailan mo lang gusto, which a lot of people are actually doing at the moment. They just do things because they just want to do it. They just want to try it. Or is it a disposition? When you say a disposition, it's your own nature. It includes the inherent qualities of the mind and character. In other words, it's a mindset. I would say that the entrepreneurial mind is a disposition. Okay? And according to Canon Abakin, the entrepreneurial mind is a set of dispositions that enables a person to develop entrepreneurial traits that will help start and grow a business venture. So when we talk of the entrepreneurial mind as a mindset, it is something that is consistent with our internal motivation. In Tagalog, yun talaga gusto nating gawin. So these things that originate from within our internal motivation shapes our beliefs and actions. And then eventually we do things not because we just like it, but we do things because we are committed to making it work, to better the product or service that we provide. And then eventually hope that it will change not just our lives, but also the lives of the people that use it. That's the essence of the entrepreneurial mind. So we can therefore say that eventually these sets of actions become our habits. And if you talk about habits, eventually they form part of who we are. So what are the 5 C's of the entrepreneurial mind? Let's talk about this one by one. The first C is what we call curiosity. It is the very core of the entrepreneurial mind. It provides us a sense of vision. When you say vision, it is our plan for the future. The second C would be your creativity. Creativity breeds innovation. And eventually, when you talk about innovation, we talk about transforming things around us. We better what we have day in and day out. The third C is your competence. Now, this leads to passion. It's not enough that you know what you're good at. It's not enough that you know you can perform the skills. You have to have that strong feeling called passion to do what you do best. And then we have commitment that is actually contributory to determination and perseverance. When you say determination, that is our willpower, the firmness of purpose that we have. And perseverance, of course, is the persistence despite difficulty. Bring these two together and wow, what a person you have. So when you have determination and perseverance, you would definitely be able to stand up after a fall. And remember, when you are an entrepreneur, you will definitely experience a lot of failures, like I did. So it's not as if I just dreamt about it and then the next day I'm making money. No, you have to work for it. And if you want to be successful, you have to double your failure rate. And look at failure not as opposite of success, but as part of success. So if you want to keep on succeeding, you have to keep on failing. Okay, but that idea doesn't seem to sit well with a lot of students because they would always want the highest grades. But at the end of it all, it's not the grades, the numerical value that defines an entrepreneur. It is the 5th C, compassion, that provides the breeding ground for motivation. If we want to better ourselves every day, and then eventually better our lives, we also have to look at what's happening around us, look at our fellow men, and create opportunities that will better their lives too. So that when everything becomes better, then we continuously are motivated to do what we do best. Okay, so the first C, let's expand on the first C, curiosity. that leads to vision. Well, Joel Barker says, vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is simply passing the time. Action with vision is making a positive difference. And who is Joel Barker? Well, he was the first to popularize the concept of paradigm shift in the corporate world, which means, what does it mean to have paradigm shift? Paradigm shift is the major change in how people think and do things. So if you are capable of influencing people around you to take a look at what you are proposing to better a service or a product, then you are espousing paradigm shift. And you can always call yourself a visionary. Okay, so let's move on. Curiosity is at the core of the entrepreneurial mind. What does this mean? Now, remember this success reminder. Choose curiosity over judgment. How do you do that? When you are judgmental, you end up blaming people for your misfortune. You tend to point your fingers to other people. Lagi tayong naninisi. Okay? That is being judgmental. But when you choose curiosity, you always ask yourself after you fail, how could you have done it differently? What would have changed the result? That is the mark of a visionary person. So when we say curiosity, it means our desire to know, our desire to learn. So how do we nurture curiosity? Well, you have the three rules, the ABCs of developing curiosity. A means ask questions and seek answers. Remember the very popular Vicky Bello, who is one among the 13 of us, who started the Gomigosho core group with then presidential consultant for entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, during the time of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. She started asking herself, what can she do? Because she's having pimples as a teenager, and she wanted to get rid of the pimples. So she tried to find answers to her personal problem. And then, after she found the right treatments and medications, she dreamt of one day doing the same to her fellow men. That's why her mantra is making the Filipino beautiful, one at a time. So how can you beautify the Filipinos? Of course, you have to understand their core. And being a Filipino and having the same set of problems, of course, you know how to go about it. So what she did after is that she explored the world. So she traveled the world. She just did not have that dream. What she did is she took action. So she traveled the world to find solutions to common skin problems. And she advanced her training and education, and eventually she came up with her own Bello Medical Group that has given birth to Bello Essentials and a lot of beauty products and treatments thereafter. And as they say, cliche as it may seem, the rest is history. Well, you can be the next Vicky Bello. If you have pimples, we can always think of something that irritates us as an opportunity to create business. You just have to be curious about it. You just have to search for the solutions. And you can do that by exploring. Okay. The second C is creativity, which breeds innovation. A creative mind gives birth to innovation. But the question is, do we really have an ounce of creativity within us? Or does it really have to be nurtured? Okay. So always remember, when we do things repeatedly, eventually it becomes a habit. So we can make creativity a habit. Now, how? This is a success reminder. All habits follow a specific path. And according to Sambliss and Relay, there is what we call the cycle of habit that begins with a trigger, okay? And then you perform actions based on the trigger that eventually becomes the habit. And then after that, you attain your reward, which could be a goal, which could be your dream thing, a car, a bag, or whatever. So whenever you have something that could either irritate you or that gives you an idea, or it actually triggers your curiosity, go for it. Search for the action. That's where creativity begins. Okay. A NASA study found that 98% of 5-year-old children are at the creative genius level. And then 5 years later, only 30% of the same children remained in the same level. Another 5 years later, only 12%. And when the test was administered to adults, only 2% were at the creative genius level. What does this mean, guys? Creativity declines with age. Kaya pala. Okay, a lot of people would say, kasi matanda na ako. But it is surprising that your most creative stage is actually your kindergarten stage, where you are utilizing about 95 to 98% of your creative energy. When you reach school age, that goes down to 50 to 70, high school and university level, 30 to 50, and then eventually for adults, less than 20. Maybe because as you grow older, you are having more opportunities to deal with more concerns, a lot of concerns, and that would usually cause you to lose some of those creative character, because you are focused on a lot of tasks at hand. Okay. Next, the issue with Philippine businesses is that Filipino businesses are small in scale and may be lacking in originality and innovativeness, reflecting the copycat syndrome. That's according to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. So according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, of the total 957,620,000 business enterprises operating in the country, 952,969 or 99.51% are micro, small, medium enterprises, and 4,651 or 0.49% and even 1% are large enterprises. So majority pala ng negosyo sa Pilipinas ay parang sari-sari store lang, micro, small, and medium, which means madali silang matapple down ng crisis. Maybe because this is the kind of mentality that we have. We lack the motivation or the vision to make something small and grow it into something bigger. Okay? Now, how do we foster that kind of attitude? We have the ABCs of developing creativity. The first one is always seek to develop new ideas and improve processes. Now, if you have something that you have observed in the hospital, like for example, well, the oxygen diffuser that you can improve on. You could also improve on, for example, if you have cars, you are riding the ambulance and you notice that the seat belt may be improved for elderly or for younger children. Those are all potential business ideas. And of course, be flexible and resourceful. Being resourceful means you utilize what you have at the moment. A lot of people would say, kasi parang pakiramdam namin, kailangan namin ng puhunan. Yung puhunan is the list of the concern of the entrepreneur. The primary puhunan of the entrepreneur would be yourself, your skill. And it's happening now around us. Look at YouTube. A lot of those who are in YouTube have given birth to a lot of products. And you get to see them now raking the fruits of their sacrifices. More on that as we go along. And then, of course, you always have to imagine. It is limitless. You can create things in your mind for as far back as how you get to see your future. The most important thing is you stay motivated. Well, you can go and do some serendipity walk activity, okay, around your neighborhood. Talk to your friends, talk to your family. These are all source of inspiration that could eventually make you a more imaginative individual. So, remember James Ingram and his song, Whatever We Imagine. I'd like to share this with you guys because the lyrics speaks well of what an entrepreneurial mind is. And let me share this with you so that at least you have an idea what I am talking about. Okay? So I'd like you to listen to this song and then understand the lyrics carefully because the lyrics represents what an entrepreneurial mindset should think about when opportunities come along to do business. So I'd like to share this with you guys. Join me if you know the song. Once again, it's by James Ingram entitled Whatever We Imagine. So here we go. Here's once again the song. I can meet halfway. We can't always know where to go, but we know I know we can go. Wherever we imagine. Later on, too late. 'Cause where can we run when you see there's not a chance that we might really come? Wherever we imagine, and I imagine just taking shots, and if we fall, you take away the dust and just outlast them. So that's actually the lesson that I would like you to remember regarding that song. And the lyrics speaks well about what an entrepreneur should do whenever business opportunities would come your way. Always meet halfway, and after that, create products from the mind. Whatever we imagine. Okay. So I just hope you like that little thing that we did. We did a little singing, and pardon more my voice. Okay, so the third C is actually competence. And this actually is made possible when we have more than just competence, but when we also have a burning passion in our heart. So there is no greatness without passion to be great. Whether it's the aspiration of an athlete or an artist, a scientist, a parent, or a business person, that's according to Anthony Robbins. Sorry for that. So always remember the Milo jingle, great things start from small beginnings. Okay. I remember one thing about this. Some ladies would say, was that my honeymoon theme song on our first night? Well, that's another thing to talk about. Let's not talk about that now. The success reminder is always start small. Sabi nga nila, mas maganda mag-umpisang maliit. Maliit ang problema, maliit din ng kita, pero mas natututo ka at habang lumalaki ka, mas lalo mong alam ano ang gagawin mo. That's the success reminder. And always tell yourself, never to procrastinate. The time is now. It's now or never. Start small now. That's the mantra of the entrepreneurial mind. Now, when I started as an entrepreneur, this is actually one thing I'd like to share with you guys. I got it, nakalkal ko po sa baul ko yan. I got it from my memory boxes in our storage room. If you would notice, even the spelling of entrepreneurship is misspelled. But sabi nga nila, tignan nyo naman, saan ba ginawa yung forum? It's a lecture forum on entrepreneurship, but it's done at the National Center for Mental Health in the city of Mandaluyong. Maybe you are thinking, sino kaya yung tinuruan ni Sir Don? Your guess is as good as mine. So these are the kinds of engagements that I used to accept when I was still honing my ability to be a motivational speaker. So if you would notice, once again, the entrepreneurship spelling still misspelled as the guest speaker. And that was in 1999. See, guys, sabi nga nila, if you want to eventually develop the skill, you have to spend at least 10,000 hours to master your craft. That's the secret formula of great entrepreneurs, the outliers, okay? Or the outliers, rather. Now, these are the people who are considered elite when it comes to their business sense, like Bill Gates, okay? And of course, we have our own tycoons and taipans. We have Henry C. We have Lucio Tan, okay? So there are three things, again, that we need to remember if you want to develop competence or your skill. The first one is actively pursue interests and desires. So what will make you happy? It should be the first thing that you should be doing and trying out as a business venture because, like, for example, don't just imitate because it's the in thing. One thing I'd like to share with you is a lesson I learned from Cartimar because I was looking at the different aquariums and the different fishes. And then I saw one and I said, ito yung parang nasa kapitbahay namin. Ganito pala. And then dito niya siguro binali. And then I asked the sales lady, sabi ko, mahirap bang alagaan yung mga isda niyan? Ang ganda. Sabi niya, sir, saltwater fishes yan eh. So how is it different from the freshwater fishes? Sabi niya, sir, depende sa tingin nyo at depende sa hilig nyo. Sabi ko, ano ibig mo sabihin? Sabi niya, kasi sir, narinig kita kanina, sabi mo, parang yan yung nasa kapitbahay nyo eh. So kung bibili mo tong aquarium na binibenta ko dahil gusto mo lang gayahin yung kapitbahay mo, mahirap po itong i-maintain kasi hindi mo siya hilig. Okay? Pero kung hilig mo po ito talaga, aba, kahit gaano po kamahal i-maintain ito at gaano kahirap mag-brush ng aquarium at maglinis, pagtsatsagaan mo siya and you'll find joy in it. Sabi ko, bang klaseng sales lady to? Hindi ako si Nails to kan. Pero tama siya. You know, the best lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur, I learned it from common people. Sa nanay ko, sa kapatid ko, sa kapitbahay namin, sa kaibigan ko, sa sales lady na medyo may pagka-etsosera ang dating. But, you know, tama siya. So, pursue something that you really like. Huwag yung you went to a beauty parlor and then you said, wow, ang dami niyang kita. Magtayo kaya ako. Huwag na, kung hindi mo hilig, magbabad ka na lang sa parlor. Because you'll end up eventually, okay, letting it go. Because you just did it at your whim. Kumbaga, kapritsyo lang. Diba? Nagustuhan mo lang, spur of the moment. Okay? May nag-udyok lang. And then eventually, hindi naman yun yung competence mo. That's why a lot of questions would arise when somebody who doesn't know how to do haircut puts up a barbershop or a parlor. Somebody who's not a dentist puts up a dental clinic. So it has to emanate from what you can do. Laging sinasabi ng nanay ko sa akin, dapat anak, mas marunong ka kesa sa empleyado mo. At dapat lahat ng function sa opisina, alam mo. So that you know when your employees are doing their job or not. Tama naman si Mama. So be aware of unique intelligences. This is one thing I'd like to share with you guys. You have to realize what kind of intelligences that you have. And from there, think about what career or enterprise can you manage. And then, cultivate leadership skills. Well, the best way to cultivate your leadership skills is actually to lead a group, no matter how small the group is. Basta kailangan may follower ka. And ang nauunang follower ay dapat sarili mo. You cannot be a good leader if you are not a good follower. Okay, so let's talk about Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences na paborito ko talaga when it comes to entrepreneurship. So let's talk about intelligences, potential enterprises, or career and role model. So for example, okay, you are word smart. So your intelligence is in the area of linguistics. Magaling kang magsalita. Eh bakit nga naman hindi? Okay? It's because, take note class, it's one of the first things that we develop. We learn how to talk. And in fact, as early as our 9 to 10 months of age, we already utter our first word. At ano yung ating first word? Mama. And we utter it specifically or non-specifically. We utter it non-specifically. We call our mother mama. And we also refer to our father mama. Ngayon, pag nag-react yung father, sabi niya sa sarili niya, paano nalaman na kung mama ako? Sorry, joke lang. Confirm. Okay. Now, those who are word smart people are those who enjoy reading. They like to solve word puzzles, okay, or word games. And they like to tell and listen to stories. So if they are going to choose a career or create an enterprise, anong pwede? They could have language training centers or publications, like what I did. Okay? Nakakatuwa lang because I remember my teacher commenting on my report card, okay? Always pay attention and lessen unnecessary talking. But hey, I made a living out of my passion for talking and motivating people. Okay? And I would like to share with you a potential role model. If you are familiar with the story Diary ng Pangit, which was popularized on Wattpad, na ito incidental entrepreneur lang to, okay? Of course, nung sinulat ng author ito, no, nagpakilala siya as Denny, yung kanyang pseudonym name. Ayaw niyang sabihin yung totoo niyang pangalan, okay? When she was 16, after high school, pumunta sila ng Italy, and of course, because napunta siya sa foreign land, wala siyang magawa. So, nagsasurf siya sa internet until she came across a site called Candy Magazine. At dun sa online platform na yon, sinulat niya ang what would be the prologue of a hit story and eventually naging movie pa ni James Reid. Okay? Ayan, naging movie ni James Reid yan. Okay? At saka, of course, ang kanyang leading lady na si Nadine Lustre. But there's a striking resemblance of Nadine to Denny. Oh, parang pareho pang pangalan, rhyme. Nadine, Denny. So, after graduation from high school, pumunta sila ng Italy. Then, nabore siya. So, it was out of boredom. You see, even boredom could actually give you potential business ideas. So, ano nangyari dito sa kanya? She wrote Diary ng Pangit. Ito yung prologue niya. Basahin natin para malaman natin bakit pumatok to. Look, ang sinulat niya una doon, mahirap maging maganda. Bawat galaw mo, tinitignan nila. Magkamali, hindi makakatakas sa kanilang mga mata. Ang mahirap pa, pag gusto mong mangulangot, kahit patago, hindi mo magawa. The first few sentences really hit it well with the readers. And she was surprised to note na nung binalikan niya, ang daming views. And so, she wrote the story as it progressed. And eventually, when she discovered the online forum na Wattpad, she transferred dun sa Wattpad. And as they say, the rest is history. It gathered 12 million views. And it prompted movie producers to look for her. Okay? So pag tinignan natin, eto siya. Okay? Very young. Then eventually, na-transform into a book yung kanyang story. From internet, naging book, naging movie. And in 2013, the movie made 120 million in the box office. What was her dream? What was Danny's dream? Danny actually just dreamt of writing a book before she turns 30. But she never realized that she would be able to do it at 16. And it became a hit and became a movie when she was just 19. You can just imagine, if you have a gift, you have to nurture it, show it to the world, have the confidence to present yourself and your work, and eventually you would be surprised of how the rewards would come your way. So that's if you are word smart. Okay, but what about if your intelligence is in the area of logical, mathematical, meaning you're number smart? These are the people who like to categorize things. They love to create strategy when they're playing games, and they always ask how things are working. Okay, so these are the people who are very, very inquisitive. So you could actually be a computer software developer. Okay, or you can create your computer software development firm like Bill Gates. Okay, well, Bill Gates doesn't have an inspiring rags to riches story, but he's a very practical person. If you would notice, when he came to Manila, he was placed at the penthouse of Manila Hotel, but he requested to be on the lower floor because he wanted to, get to the city as fast as he can. He could. He was given a lot of menu for the food that he would want, but at the end of the day, he just asked for McDonald's. He was a simple person. Kumbaga, hindi nagbago ng taste buds. Nakikita ko lang naman yung characteristics na yon. Kasi kahit ako, natutuwa yung mga kaibigan ko pag pumunta dito sa bahay. Sabi nila, Rian ba yung kinakain mo? Sabi ko, Ma'am, hindi po nagbago ang taste buds ko. Ano ba yung kinakain ko? Same pa rin, tuyo at sampurado at ang pandesal na may star margarine at brown sugar. Okay, yan pa rin talaga ang favorite ko. So remember, when you become successful, success should not change you. Because in the first place, you became successful because of those traits that you had. So actually, Bill Gates started developing softwares at the age of 15. And with the first software that he developed, he made like $20,000 together with his friend. But have you ever wondered why? Why is the name of his company Microsoft? Ano kayang inspirasyon niya sa pangalan ng kumpanya niya? Maybe only the wife knows. And maybe it could be the reason why they divorced. Microsoft. Okay, I don't want to be naughty. Okay, so remember, Bill Gates dropped out from Harvard. Okay, and this just goes to show that the school is not the only place to learn. But when he was asked if he had any regrets in life, what he said was that he regretted being too focused on academics when he was in college, that he forgot to socialize. We are social beings. Life is about establishing relationships. At the end of it all, when everything is lost, we can only cling to our relationships with family, friends, and loved ones. So, in the guise of working for your dream, for chasing what your entrepreneurial mind is telling you to chase, don't forget to interact with your fellow men. They can be teachers and learners too, like you, like Bill Gates. That's his regret. Okay, now what about if your area of intelligence would be on spatial? What do you mean by spatial? Yung ba yung may leche plan? No, halo-halo yun eh. Yung may ice cream. Spatial means orientation as to space, intelligent as to space, in terms of what you see in your environment, like your picture smart. So what would be your potential career? Now, these people are the people who would usually like to draw. They dream a lot, and eventually they enjoy doing jigsaw puzzles. So a good career for them would be, well, something that they can make use of their passion for drawing. So they can paint, or they can venture into photography or interior design or even movie production. Now, Walt Disney, you have visited Disney. Wow. Well, I was able to visit this because I promised it as a gift to my niece and my nephews. Because I remember my sister telling me, you really have to help me assess your niece and your nephews because they seem to be not so focused on their studies. And I said, ate, my niece and my nephews are good. It's such that since everything is provided to them, you're not giving them the room to discover their creative side because tinatamad na eh. Okay? So, why? One time I brought them to the toy store. And then, sabi nung isang pamangkin ko, Tito, can you buy me toys? And I said, okay, go ahead. So he picked two. And I said, magkano yung isa? 120 po. Yung isa, 80 po. And I said, I want to stimulate their mind. Okay? Not just buy them because we can afford it. So I want them to make use of their gifts, their intelligences. So I said, okay. So pag na-add mo yung 120 at 80, bibiling ko sa yung dalawa yan. Alam mo anong sabi ng pamangkin ko? Tito, isa na lang. Simple addition kinatamaran because may mga computer na sila, may mga calculator na. Gone are the days na noong unang panahon, pinagbibilangan namin yan ng toothpick para matutunan ang addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So that doesn't leave them anything more to imagine. Okay? So here, if your intelligence is on the area of spatial intelligence, so which simply means you could be like Walt Disney. Walt Disney started as a cartoonist, and then he was the first to create Mickey Mouse, which is the first cartoon character in Technicolor and with the sound. Then eventually he produced the movies and eventually turned the location sets into a park. So now we have Disney World all over the planet. So which simply means that nothing is impossible. Walt Disney started as a cartoonist, and eventually that passion grew and improved over the years. And before he knew it, before he died, he was able to transform what he used to draw into something that people can enjoy as a theme park. What a marvelous accomplishment. Okay, what about if your area of intelligence would be in terms of nature, your nature smart? You're a naturalist. So you could be good at creating gardens. So you could have a landscape architecture firm. Okay. Well, this is sobrang patok in the States because your front lawn should be something that you should plant on it and you have to cut the grass. Otherwise, you'll be fined if you don't do that. Okay. So if you don't have the time to do that, you could hire a landscaper, okay, who will take care of your lawn. Or if you're fond of animals, you could come up with a pet shop. So turn your passion into something, or turn your hobby into something entrepreneurial. Well, a good role model for this would be Cesar Milan, the dog behavior expert. Well, he had a show. It's entitled Dog Whisperer. Okay, so here's a person who loves pets. Okay, and these are also the people. Sometimes mga bata tayo, we bring in bugs, we bring in pulisap. Okay, dapat hindi tayo pinagagalitan. That just tells us that may naturalist tendency yung bata. So we have to nurture that. And then, yung mga batang namumulot ng basura, sometimes papagalitan ng parents, dirty yan. No, let them be. Because that's where we get to see that they might be loving things around them and they might be having an idea of how to recycle those things. Okay, so if you have a child who knows the names of plants, the names of animals, and who would love to visit zoos, would want to go hiking, just let them be. Okay, especially if they don't have any spaces, but they love to read about these things, let them be. They could be gifted naturalists, or they are nature smart, like Cesar Milan. Okay, now, pay particular attention to the fact that Cesar Milan, okay, did not finish anything. He's actually Mexican and he illegally entered the United States through the US-Mexican border, okay? So he belongs to a very poor family. He didn't finish his school, so most of his childhood was spent with animals because he grew up in a farm. And in fact, the first job that he had in the US was to groom dogs. So he learned how to interact with dogs early on. He didn't have any formal training, but now he hosted a TV show, had a lot of DVDs. He has a lot of clinics. He has a lot of dog products, okay? And that's telling us that it's not education that really brings success to a person. Education is just a tool. What you do with what you have in your mind is what spells the difference. So kung mahilig ka sa aso, pwede kang maging Cesar Millan in the future. What is important is you have to find that gift, something that you know God gave you, and transform it into something that could help other people. Don't worry about the returns. It will come after. Wag pera kaagad. Ang iisipin mo, the universe will reward you if what you are doing is for the betterment of the human race. Now, what about if you are music smart? You have music intelligence. Well, you could be a singer, a songwriter. You can own a recording studio like a nurse. Maybe not a lot of you know that Kuli Desma is not just a nursing graduate, but if you would visit Wikipedia, you would find out it's written there that, okay, she finished the course, nursing, at Colegio San Agustin Bacolod and successfully passed the Philippine Nursing Board exam and became a registered nurse. So her screen name should have been Kuli Desma RN. She popularized the song Dito Ba? Okay? And then Ako Ay Pilipino. Okay? Then yung Sinong Dakila, Sinong Baliw. Okay? So she's an OPM icon and she's a nurse. But you see, she was already a band member while still being a student. And at the end of it all, tinapos niya yung nursing, maybe katulad natin, di ba? katulad ko. Okay? Kasi originally, di naman talaga nursing yung gusto kong course. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. Sa daldal ko ba namang ito? Di sana ako yung nasa ABS-CBN, kapag mahusay ang pagkalap na ebidensya. Ibang title nun? Soko. Pwede natin gawing toko. Okay? Just kidding, okay? Don't take that seriously. No offense meant. What I'm trying to say is that even if we have a professional degree, sometimes it is not what we studied that would bring us to success, but it is what we really want to do. So if you have that inclination, like to collect CDs, to create songs, to play instruments, or if you sing well, if you love to be singing every Sunday, if you love singing every Sunday in a church choir or a gathering, then nurture it. So you have what we call as music intelligence. Okay, way to go. So what about if your intelligence is on the category of bodily or kinesthetic intelligence? You are body smart. Okay. Now these are the people who excel in sport. They love to run. They love to create crafts. They love role playing. They love acting. Okay, acting and role playing involves movements, facial expression. So you could be an actor or a gym owner, a fitness trainer, or a Zumba coach, like Loben Rip, okay, who actually is the owner of Rip Fitness, okay. So he is initially a personal trainer, then eventually ventured into the nursing career. So now he's a personal trainer, an owner, and a registered nurse, okay. He owns a chain of fitness studios in the US. Way to go. So that at least before you begin and after your workout, well, you are safe in the hands of a nurse who can take your and monitor your vital signs. Paano sir pag ang gusto ko lang gawin maging hairdresser, makeup artist, o manicurista? Pwede rin magtayo ng parlor. I-vital signs mo muna. Bago mo i-pedicure. And then habang nagpe-pedicure ka, bigyan mo na rin health teaching. I-assess mo kung diabetic at explain mo why you are cutting the fingernail straight across and why are you filing the edges of the nails. Way to go. Okay, anyway. What about the Filipino version of the Zumba instructor? Look at this news. Rizal nurse holds Zumba session for COVID-19 patients in quarantine facility. And this is a nurse acting as a Zumba instructor for patients in Montalban, Rizal. So we are being brought to the edge of our creativity on how to deal with challenging situations like the pandemic. And sometimes, yung maliliit na bagay na nagagawa natin for our patients makes a lot of difference. And this is what this nurse is doing. And eventually, natutunan niya, naturuan niya yung mga pasyente niya. Baka paglabas niya dyan, hanapin na siya at gawin na siyang Zumba instructor. So, nag-enjoy ka na nagsasayaw, kumikita ka pa. Okay. Now, this is Nurse Barbara McKinley. She looks so young, but she's already 65 years old. Why? Because for her, Zumba relieves stress. And she has opened her Zumba clinic. So if you are 65 years old, you're retiring, do something that you want to do. And maybe if you love dancing, also come up with a Zumba dance studio. Okay. Now, what about if your intelligence is on interpersonal relationships? You're people smart. In Tagalog, ito yung mga mahilig bumarkada at magchismosa, ang mga marites at mga mosang. Okay. Now, I remember most of our parents would say, wag ka ng barkada ng barkada, wag ka ng chismis ng chismis, but these are the people who possess that kind of intelligence na hindi natin minsan na-acknowledge na intelligence pala. Isa sa mga trait ng mga taong may interpersonal intelligence, nakikita natin sa ating mga RLE groupmates. Pag meron kang kasamang laging nangunguna, you have a natural leader in the group. Okay? At meron din yung mga groupmates na pag may problema ka, nauuna rin sila, nangunguna uli. Okay, I can listen. Okay, so they immediately show empathy. Or, meron din naman tayong RLE groupmates na gusto niya, as a group, lagi kayong magtrabaho and they enjoy socializing. Okay? But most of our parents would usually tell us, diyan ka magaling sa pakikipagbarkada. Diyan ka magaling sa kakipagdaldalan. O, di ba sila na rin na nagsabi, diyan ka magaling? Eh, di kagalingan din yon. True enough. Sabi nga ni Gardner, di ba? That's interpersonal intelligence. So, pag sinabihan ka ng nanay mo, saan ka naman pupunta? Diyan ka magaling sa mag-overnight. Diyan ka magaling sa kabarkada. Sabi mo, nay, ikaw na rin nagsabi. Kagalingan din yon. Okay? Now, what enterprise or career, okay, should you consider? Well, consider putting up a PR firm like Kuya Boy Abunda. Could be a motivational speaker like Kuya Boy. School administrator because you go along well with people. Now, a role model could be Donna Cardillo, who is a nurse, and look at her website, The Inspiration Nurse. She's a keynote speaker, humorist, okay? You want to be a humorist. But please, your humor should be something that borders on the intellectual side that stimulates the senses, not the toilet humor type, because, although that will really bring a lot of laughter to people, and sometimes they don't think about what you're talking about, they just want to laugh. Okay, so you could be a humorist, you can consider that. You could be a master motivator and an entertainer. Maybe you can sing and dance in between. That would be great. Okay, so, and number 8, okay, is known as your intrapersonal intelligence. These are the people who are self-smart. Okay, who are the people who are self-smart? Those who can decide for themselves. They are self-directed and they are confident with what they're doing. They have goals and they want to achieve their goals. They work well on their own, even without anybody assisting them, and they are able to express their feelings freely. Well, an enterprise or career that they can pursue, be as counselor or an entrepreneur, like Injapsia of Mang Inasal. Now, remember, Injap is one of those who came into our Gomigosho group, okay, after our group. So there was initially the 13 of us meeting together. And then at one point in time, nakasabay namin yan sa eroplano. Sabi ng EA ko, Sir Lee, sino yung kausap mo? Sabi ko, yung may-ari ng Mang Inasal. Tanong niya sa akin, bakit gano'n na itsura? Sabi ko, bakit? Ano ba dapat ang maging itsura? Sabi ko, bakit ka nagtataka? Sabi niya, sir, ang simple naman. Sabi ko, bakit kailangan mo bang maging loud if you own Mang Inasal? Then when we boarded the plane, so that was a sponsored flight, so we were in the business class and he was waiting na makasabay namin si Inja. Tapos sabi niya sa akin, sir, nasaan na yung friend mo na may-ari ng Mang Inasal? Nakita niya, nandoon sa economy. Okay? Sabi niya, sir, bakit ganon? Sabi ko, ops, remember, kaya siya yumaman kasi marunong siyang magtipid. Hindi siya magasta. Tayo din doon din tayo uupo. Sabi ko sa EA ko, kung hindi lang sponsored tong flight na to, doon din. Why would you pay 3 times when same din lang naman yung goal? Ma-achieve mo rin lang naman at lesser cost. Diba? Pareho lang naman ang outcome pareho kayong makakarating. So would that spell a difference? Kaya kung hindi sponsored yung flight, I would also go and get an economy class ticket. I'm not bothered with that. Hindi dapat dinidiktahan ng estado mo sa buhay kung ano dapat yung iniipon mo. Remember, wealth is not how much you make. Wealth is what remains after spending how much you make. Okay? Maliwanag yon. Ibig sabihin, ang yaman ay hindi doon nakabase sa kinikita. Nakabase ang yaman ng isang tao sa kung magkano ang natitira pagkatapos niyang gumastos. Okay? And that's the 8th, okay, intelligence. Pero meron nga sinasabi yung iba na meron daw pang-siyam na intelligence. Okay. At ano naman yung pang-siyam na intelligence na yon? That is existential intelligence. This is the intelligence that would enable you to think critically, to solve problems, And this is the intelligence that will make you unafraid to challenge the norm. And this is one of the traits that entrepreneurs should have, existential intelligence. Pero kung ako kasi, kung self-smart ka na, I think na di-develop mo na rin yung existential intelligence. So in Gardner's theory, 8 lang talaga yung initial na nilagay. Pero syempre, as time goes by, nag-add na sila ng pang-siyam. And that is your existential intelligence. Okay, now, pag-usapan na natin yung tatlong C. What is the fourth C? Commitment. Okay? And commitment is strengthened by your determination and perseverance. Always remember, the entrepreneurial mind is a fertile ground for bright ideas, but it is self-discipline and commitment that will see to it that an idea grows. Okay. A lot of you may not know. Sabi ko nga, ano ba itong nakikita natin sa isa sa favorite nating fried chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken? Sabi ko, tinatanong ko estudyante, kilala mo ba kung sino yung picture nandiyan sa Kentucky Fried Chicken? Sabi niya, Ronaldo Valdez. Hindi. Okay? That's actually Colonel Harlan Sanders. Okay? Siya yung original na nag-formulate ng recipe ng Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, ano storya niyan, sir? Well, ang storya niyan ay napaka-grabe. Grabe in terms of disappointments and frustrations. First and foremost, nung siya'y 6 na taong gulang, namatay yung tatay niya. And then, nung 7 years old, kailangan niya mag-drop out to school kasi siya yung panganay, kailangan niya tulungan ng mga kapatid niya. And when he was 16, he faked his age and joined the military. When he was 17, he got discharged naman honorably. Okay? Kaya lang, he tried to do other things like he worked in the railway, eventually pursued law and failed. And then at age 40, he started selling chicken dishes. Well, this initially gave him a lot of revenues, kaya lang nakaaway niya yung competitors niya. And then, nagpatuloy pa rin siya. At age 44, medyo lumaki ng konti yung business niya, so he bought a motel. And now he's operating a motel business plus the fried chicken restaurant. But both got burned. So what happened? Nasunog. Wala na siyang napala. Okay? Well, he rebuilt it again. But after rebuilding it, World War II broke. Okay. So what happened to his business? He needed to close it. And then after the war, he tried to franchise his recipe of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it was rejected 1,009 times. Okay. Ayaw ng lahat ng pinagbigyan. So what happened? Well, he was left with nothing. Katatapos ng gyera, yun na lang ang kanyang bukod tanging natitirang asset, ang kanyang recipe na nandito sa utak. So inilalako niya, wala, until finally, what he did was to supply existing restaurants nung kanyang brand of fried chicken. And he called it Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then eventually, when it became popular, people were looking for it. Pagpunta nila ng isang restaurant, sabihin, do you sell Kentucky Fried Chicken? Until all restaurants that sell it, naglalagay sila ng karatula na we sell Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then eventually, those restaurants adopted the name Kentucky Fried Chicken. At doon na lumaki ang kanyang negosyo. And when he died at the age of 90, there were 6,000 Kentucky Fried Chicken stores located in 48 countries. That's at the time of his death. And in the last inventory in 2013, there are about 18,000 Kentucky Fried Chicken stores in 118 countries that started with a recipe that was rejected 1,009 times. But Mr. Sanders never gave up. Okay? So he never gave up. He actually believed that what he has is a gold mine. It's just a matter of time. As they are saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. Give a great idea time to mature in an incubator stage or an incubation period, within an incubation period, and watch as magic grows. Whatever it is that you do as an entrepreneur, it requires time. Yan ang kwento ni Colonel Harland Sanders. Okay? So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's according to Henry Ford. Okay? Therefore, the success reminder that you have to remember based on the Kentucky Fried Chicken success story, believe that it's possible. So always say, I believe. I believe I can fly. Okay. I believe I can touch the sky. Okay, so let's move on. And then tell yourself, I can. And when you say that, don't focus on anything else but the goal. It's like playing tennis without minding the scores, but looking at the ball and at making sure that the tennis ball would bring in the points as you hit it. Every time you see an opportunity, say to yourself, I can. So hindi pwedeng parang mahirap. Huwag ganun. Parang yung kwento ng dalawang salesman. Pumunta sila sa isang tribu sa African country. Sabi ni salesman A, nobody wears slippers here. We don't have a market. Sabi naman ni salesman B, nobody wears slippers here. We can teach them how to wear it. We can dominate the market. It's just a matter of the right mindset. So what is important when you're nurturing your entrepreneurial mind is you have to believe that it is possible. Mag-umpisa ka. Okay? So think about this. Ordinary talent, Mr. Sanders had an ordinary talent. What was it? Cooking chicken. But he had extraordinary perseverance. Diba? Nasunog ang lahat ng assets niya, na-rebuild, nagkagera, until ang natira na lang sa kanya, yung recipe niya. But before he died, he was able to attain his goal. Why? Because he persevered. Okay? So, if we talk about now the ABCs of developing commitment so that you can become a determined and a persevering entrepreneur, always do your best and work hard. There's no substitute for hard work. Anyone who would say, I'm an entrepreneur, pero mayaman na siya agad, hindi naman nagpakahirap, can't do. Can't do, rather. So be in charge. Welcome responsibility and change. Look at what happened to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Ilang beses nasunog, nire-rebuild niya. Okay? Nasunog, nagkagera, nire-rebuild niya uli. Okay? You have to be in charge. Well, I got an entrepreneurial tip from a sister of mine by telling me, sabi niya, Ray, lahat ng papeles na may pangalan mo, dapat ikaw personally ang tumitingin. You don't entrust it to just your lawyers. You don't entrust it just to your staff. You have to understand, you have to know from A to Z of the papers that you are signing. And then, the most important thing of all, be a lifelong learner. And that's what we do at Gomigosho. We always have Gomigosho talks. The last time I attended was when the speaker was Jeff Hoffman. Who is Jeff Hoffman? You may not know him. Siya lang naman po ang nag-create ng ating mga support system for booking.com, hotel.com, and then Agoda. He is a serial entrepreneur. Ano ibig sabihin, sir? Gagawa siya ng product, palalakihin niya, pag lumaki na, he sells the business and creates again because he loves creating. You have to learn to let go when you are an entrepreneur. Hindi pwedeng lahat ng create mo sa'yo lahat. No, don't be greedy. No, to learn how to let go. Because with the art of letting go, you learn how to start from scratch and you are actually tilling the fertile grounds of your creative imagination. Dapat ganun ang thinking mo. You do not keep everything forever. My personal philosophy, no one know when to exit. I told myself after I turned 35, well, I'll go semi-retirement in what I'm doing. Na-achieve mo ba? Na-delay ng konti because my mom got sick and passed away. So I have to attend to the things that she left behind. But yeah, I was able to do that. And the most important thing that we need to remember about being an entrepreneur is you have to know when to enter and you have to know when to exit. Do not overstay. If you want to make a business out of yourself, remember our basic premise in fundamentals of nursing, man's energy is not limitless. Look at what happened to Whitney Houston. Look at what happened to Michael Jackson. They overstayed making business out of themselves and their talent. So what happened? Hindi na nila kaya. Sige, nag-reinforce na ng drugs until they died. Because that's not the design of the universe. The universe allows us to grow, but we have to learn when to let go. So the fifth C is compassion, which is actually triggered by motivation. According to Dalai Lama, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Whether you want others to be happy or you want to be happy, you have to learn how to become a compassionate person. And this is inherent among us nurses. So to do that, we need to nourish our mind, our body, and our soul. Nobody talks about the soul anymore. We are very busy tending to the brands of whatever we want to wear now. The pandemic is teaching us to go back to the basics. Nobody would be wearing the shoes anymore because you wouldn't see what one is wearing while we're doing Zoom meeting or Microsoft meeting. Okay, and then nobody wears the expensive belts anymore. Nobody will see your bags anymore because the in thing now is the aswang look. The aswang look is maayos lang sa taas, sa baba nakapambahay na. Okay? So, things like this happen. So, what matters the most is you know how to cope. And the success reminder for this specific, C, of the entrepreneurial mind is that surround yourself with people who can encourage and uplift you. Do not stick it out with people who have negative things to share with you. Remember, we become the 5 people who spend the most time with. This is what they call, what social anthropologists would say, that this is something that we adapt, when we adapt the behavior of the person whom we are always with. So parang social inheritance. Na para mong minamana kung ano yung nakita mo. Kaya pag nakita mo na yung sarili mo, para ka na rin yung mga kaibigan mo. That's why we have this saying that says, tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. Because of this factor, social heredity. So namana mo sa mga lagi mong kasama yung mga characteristics nila. I remember Senator Bam Aquino when he was just starting out, not a senator pa before, he would always hang out with our group in Gomigosho because he would want to become entrepreneurial until he put up Happy Noy for the people. So the people you hang out with eventually will influence your entrepreneurial mind. So always tell yourself, I can, and once again, focus on the goal. So next important thing that you have to remember would be the ABCs of developing compassion. The first one, always think about how you can improve people's lives. So when you think of a product, it should not be because you want to make money. First and foremost, it has to be altruistic. You would want to improve your life and the lives of people around you, not necessarily the world. Huwag masyadong malaki. Una muna, start small. Mababago mo ang buhay mo, mababago mo ang buhay ng pamilya mo. Then, pag sinuwerte ka pa, baka sakaling mabago mo ang mundo. And then believe that the Filipino can. As I've always been telling you a while back. And most important thing, care about others. So that ends the part 1 of our discussion. See you on the next part.